Hey friends, happy Saturday, 31st of July, memorial of Ignatius Loyola. I'll give you a reflection. There is a link on the sidebar for the daily readings. Prayerfully read the readings if you haven't yet done so, and then turn off the screen, spend some time with the Lord. Ignatius Loyola, I took him as one of my two patron saints at confirmation. Boy, that's getting to be a long time ago, 24 years ago probably, over at the St. Cyril and Methodius Parish Center. Ignatius would have lived, 500 years ago. He was a vain and worldly soldier whose leg was broken in a battle and who then had it reset but had a conversion experience and realized that he didn't want to dedicate his life to the world in vain pursuits but dedicate his life to God. He wound up in Latin classes with little kids so that he could learn Latin and go on to study theology and be ordained a priest. He, along with others, founded the Society of Jesus, that's called the Jesuits, certainly a missionary congregation and a congregation of universities and colleges. He also is the author of the Spiritual Exercises, so very important in retreats and discernment. There are 16,000 and some Jesuits in the world today. Definitely a movement still that affects the world. Pope Francis, probably is still a Jesuit. So, Ignatius Loyola connecting to the current Bishop of Rome, all of it playing in there. So, St. Ignatius Loyola, pray for us, right? I'll give you a reflection on that first reading. What are we in? We're in Book of Leviticus, right? It's a fun one. It is the Jubilee year. I just invite us, let our minds be blown by this. Now, I'll say this. We have no indication that Israel ever actually observed this law and this Jubilee year. And I should have checked it, but I didn't. I think that it's Jeremiah who then takes up on this theme and talks about the exile, that because Israel didn't give God Jubilee years, because Israel didn't rest, but took it upon itself to just control, that God enforced the Jubilee years with the exile. Lost Sabbaths, lost years that God took back from the people because the people wouldn't give them to God. The idea here is that 7 times 7 years would be the time to work, but then every 49th year the Jubilee would be proclaimed. And you wouldn't work for an entire year. And the land would lie fallow. And you could collect the produce of the land out of the goodness of God. But we didn't sow, and we didn't reap, and we didn't work, and we didn't labor. And I can't remember, I should have double-checked this, but are slaves released in Jubilee years? And land returns to its ancestral houses? And so, people who were impoverished because of circumstances suddenly find themselves freed from slavery or able to return to the land. And we can, get into modern disputes about whether this is good or bad, or if this is good economics or bad. But to just allow our minds to be blown by God, who demands rest, even for the land, even for the animals, even for the slaves, even for us, and to ask that question, do we allow ourselves to just be, to not have to measure ourselves based on how clean our houses are, based on how many great experiences we have, based on how many toys we have, based on the good opinions of others or the behavior of our kids, or all of the ministries in our parish and whether or not we think that we measure up as ordained priests, all of the garbage. Can we let it go? Just be beloved by God? It's a challenge. I think that challenge of identity, that challenge of rest, I think that this is a biblical place that we as a culture really should listen, should reflect. Okay, and then gospel. I frankly think that maybe this gospel, the beheading of John the Baptist, stops me short every time I encounter it. So probably the best thing is to just pray with it and see what strikes to you. It begins with a question of who Jesus is. Maybe we want to reflect upon that, and then there's a flashback to the killing, the murder of John the Baptist, John, who stands up for what is right and preaches the law, and then is killed by the powerful who don't want to hear truth. Maybe we reflect on the ways that we're called to stand. Maybe we reflect on ways that we don't want to hear other voices that are speaking to us. Maybe hardness of our own hearts, abuses of power, maybe other sorts of things that are evocative in this story of the killing of John. So see what stirs within you as you pray with John. So Jubilee years, beheading of John the Baptist, happy Saturday feast of Loyola, Ignatius Loyola. For those who work regular work weeks, blessings to you. May you have some time for some rest and some recreation. Let's be praying for each other, praying for those who suffer. God bless y'all.